Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, one of the world's most awarded and commercially successful collaborations in all pop music history. But the two had a rocky road to riches and superstardom that was characterized just as much by tensions and feuding than it was by unimaginable success and critical acclaim. Having first worked together on the set of 1978's The Wiz, the duo would go on to forge Michael Jackson's iconic sound of the 1980s. A decade Jackson truly conquered in music with the release of Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. But after 10 years lighting up the world's music charts, the two, all of a sudden, stopped their work together and would go on to publicly distance themselves from thereafter. So, what caused the sudden and indefinite split? Was it rooted in rivalry, betrayal, sabotage, or all the above? Here's the detail. During the recording of Off the Wall and Thriller, Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson formed a close bond, with any creative differences complementing and being conducive to their ability to make groundbreaking music. When recording, it felt like there was a push-pull between the two of them. Michael Jackson said that he felt that he was always pushing for more modern sounds. Jones, on the other hand, would pull back to the more traditional, having a major pedigree, working with the likes of Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Sinatra. But somewhere in the middle, the two met and created music that remains timeless and appeals across generations. However, in the early recordings, it has been suggested that Quincy Jones took a less collaborative, but a more dictatorial approach. When a spectator of Thriller's recording sessions remembers walking into the control room to find that everyone's attention was fixed on the glass window. On the other side, Quincy Jones was kicking what looked like a pile of rags on the floor while shouting, "Silent, you mother f***! I said no squeaks!" It turned out that the pile of rags was a gibbering Michael Jackson. They were recording a new song called Billie Jean, and Michael Jackson had decided to fill every gap with his trademark whoops, clicks, and squeaks. Quincy, however, had decided the track would be pared down. After several hours of trying to get the singer to do what he wanted, Jones had finally snapped and attacked the singer. After the outburst, MJ sang the song how he was told to, and Billie Jean would go on to become the monster smash hit we all know today. Even after the incredible success and prestige that came after the release of Thriller, tensions grew between the producer and artist, as credit had to be fairly allocated and verified for the history books, with the record going on to become the best-selling album of all time by 1984. After this groundbreaking feat, Michael allegedly went directly to Grammy officials and requested that any producer award Quincy was nominated for would go directly to him and not Jones, who, of course, was credited in the liner notes as the album's producer along with Michael. Bob Jones, Michael's late spokesperson, wrote in his 2005 memoir that, quote, "The King lobbied hard against Quincy getting that Grammy. He didn't want to share the spotlight at all with Quincy Jones or anyone else." Quincy Jones ultimately received the award alongside Michael, but they, quote, "fell out for good as a result of the incident." Putting their differences aside, the powerhouse duo soon went on to record their musical follow-up to Thriller, as it would have been crazy not to, given the incredible run of success they were experiencing at the time. However, the heady heights of Thriller made the stakes for Jackson's next record impossibly high, with Michael feeling pressured to sustain the pop idol hysteria unleashed by the album and prove its success was no fluke, putting to rest any questions about Jackson's artistic capabilities as a songwriter, producer, and a solo artist. With growing anticipation from CBS and the whole entertainment industry for Jackson to get on with following up the aging Thriller, Jackson also placed a great deal of pressure on himself, stating his goal, as written on his bathroom mirror, was to sell 100 million copies of his next album. Reaching that goal required hits, and that's where Quincy Jones came in. Jones's careful song selection, sequencing, and unifying touch were essential to achieving Jackson's commercial vision. However, the two were becoming increasingly disjointed, and tensions built throughout the mammoth recording. In 1987, Quincy Jones arranged for Prince to duet with Michael on the song Bad. Michael kind of looked up to Quincy, almost like he looked at Motown founder Berry Gordy, a Jackson family member said of the close relationship. Quote, "So when Quincy got Prince to agree to the song, Michael felt it would be good only because that's what Quincy promised. But he didn't know that Quincy had agreed to give Prince top billing on Michael's own song." The duet was eventually killed, although it's unclear by who, but the family member said that Michael, quote, "absolutely lost it" when Prince went public about the failed collaboration and blamed Quincy for getting him involved in the first place. It's clear that Jackson and Jones were having ongoing issues as to how Michael Jackson should proceed musically. As Jackson stated in his autobiography, Moonwalk, quote, "We fight, we disagree on things. If we struggle at all, it's about the new things, the latest technology. I say, Quincy, you know, music changes all the time." Sure, the two owned the industry with Off the Wall and Thriller, but during the recording of Bad, Jackson grew increasingly concerned that Jones wasn't hip enough to keep up with emerging trends coming up in the music scene. Quincy Jones wanted Michael to incorporate hip-hop into his sound for the Bad record. Quote, "I remember when we were doing Bad, I had Run DMC in the studio because I could see what was coming with hip-hop," he said. Quote, "And Michael was telling Michael's manager, Frank DeLeo, I think Quincy's losing it and doesn't understand the market anymore. He doesn't know that rap is dead." Just to be clear, this is right before NWA and It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, so it appears that a 54-year-old Jones had more awareness of what was happening than a 28-year-old Michael Jackson. Still, Bad would be Jones's final project with Jackson. Some say it was a clean break, as Bad was the third in a 3-album contract they had between the two. Others contend that Jackson wanted more independence and control over the creative process. After Bad peaked, David Geffen began advising Jackson in preparation for upcoming contract negotiations with Sony. Geffen reportedly engineered the departure of Jackson's attorney, John Branca, his manager, Frank DeLeo, and ultimately Jones. According to Jones, quote, "Key members of Michael's entourage, including his attorney, were whispering in his ear that I've been getting too much credit." While Quincy's production had yielded great success over the course of 3 albums, it's hard to see Bad as a more musically groundbreaking LP than releases being produced by Jam & Lewis, LA and Babyface, or Riley. Jackson knew that a change was imminent, and at the dawn of the 1990s, Jackson was seeking to get back to the cutting edge. He needed another reinvention, and he wasn't going to find it with his longtime producer Quincy Jones. Jones was also unfairly blamed for Bad's inability to surpass Thriller's sales and accolades, with Jackson leaving the Grammys empty-handed in 1988. Quote, "He thought I was getting too old for the business because Bad didn't sell 100 million, Jones said to the Financial Times in 2012. Quote, "I said, Michael, you can't get used to 50, 60 million albums. Come on, man. You can't tell me that 30 million is a bomb." In any case, Jones didn't want to spend another 3 years working on one album. Quote, "I ain't gonna sit around in the studio for 3 years to make an album for Michael," he told the Chicago Tribune in 1995. Quote, too long. Bad was too long for me." None of Jackson's post-Jones albums would exceed the success they created together. While much of this has to do with the controversies that enveloped Michael Jackson up until his death in 2009, these albums also lacked the discipline and cohesion of Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. Jones downplayed his integral role in these albums, saying, quote, "That's nothing to do with any one person, that's the combination of the two of us." However, Dangerous, History, Blood on the Dance Floor, and Invincible had multiple producers, and that may have contributed to their shortcomings. After Michael Jackson's death in 2009, and in more recent years, Quincy Jones has battled with Sony Music over royalties he believes is still owed to him for the work him and Michael produced, and that Sony has profited handsomely from. The legendary producer has also become more candid when speaking about Michael Jackson, claiming that the King of Pop wasn't all that original, stating in a Vulture interview in 2018, quote, "I hate to get into this publicly, but Michael stole a lot of stuff. He stole a lot of songs, Donna Summer's State of Independence and Billie Jean. The notes don't lie, man. He was as Machiavellian as they come," said the mentor and longtime collaborator of Jackson. Also while chatting with Vulture, Quincy was equally revealing about Michael's personal issues, saying he raised concern with the singer over his lightened appearance and plastic surgery. Quote, "I used to kill him about the plastic surgery, man. He always justify it and saying it was because of some disease he had. Bullshit." According to the music producer, Jackson, quote, "had problems with his looks because his father told him he was ugly and abused him." When it comes to the allegations that have been made against Michael over the years, Quincy Jones has not only solidly refused to discuss and therefore defend Jackson against these allegations, but Jones has alternatively made attempts to distance himself from the artist during these periods. In 2019, during the immediate aftermath of Dan Reed's Leaving Neverland documentary film, all mentions of Michael Jackson was taken out of marketing material associated with Quincy Jones's show. The music producer's concert was first announced as a night celebrating Michael Jackson's most iconic albums, with the flyer saying that Off the Wall, Thriller and Bad were going to be performed by a live symphony orchestra. This event was then renamed and changed to Quincy Jones Presents Soundtrack of the 80s, defining albums and iconic songs. Songs by Michael Jackson were still performed on the night, but the new flyer focused more on the iconic music rather than Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones' enduring association with the pop icon. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this. Also, consider helping support this channel by joining our Patreon